Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host. Today we have a great couple, Kevin and Carmen Coe of the Kind of Cooking YouTube channel. They do a lot of experiments with sous vide cooking and mostly on Asian type dishes. Help me welcome Kevin and Carmen to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'll be right back.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Hey all, before we get on to the show, I want to talk to you for a second about Instacart. Instacart's a great service that allows you to do all your grocery shopping online, and they can get you your groceries in as fast as 1 hour. They connect you with personal shoppers in your area that know your markets, and they can get them from your favorite stores. They find all the great buys and smart suggestions for you online, save you money. They pick the freshest produce, and they check your eggs and make sure they're not cracked. Check them out, guys. Instacart is offering free delivery on your first order of over $35 in the link below. Check them out, and now on to the show. Welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host. And today we got a couple special guests. We have Carmen and Kevin Coe of Kind of Cooking YouTube channel. They're a fairly new YouTube channel that I discovered a little while back, and I absolutely fell in love with it. They got a great personality, both of them, great video presence for sure. Kevin, why don't you go ahead and start, or Carmen. I'll get Carmen to do it first. Ladies first. Carmen, you go ahead. Yeah, ladies first. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then let's get talking here.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Darren. My name is Carmen, and we are the creators of Kind of Cooking on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Kevin. I don't know what else you need to know, but we work
where you live, what you do, let's go.
All right, so we are currently living in Toronto. I was born here. I was raised here. I moved to New York for a couple of years and came back about 5 years ago. With the wife. Yeah, that's what happened. I don't know why she came here.
Yeah, it's a bad mistake. For me, it's a little more complicated. So I was born in Macau. I'm not sure if you guys know where Macau is. So I'm sure a lot of you know where Hong Kong is. So Macau is kind of like the not so well-known cousin.
Yeah, right. It's the gambling capital of the world.
Okay, it is the Las Vegas of Asia. But back then, when I was there, when I grew up, there was only like one casino. But now it's bigger than Las Vegas. So I was born there. Then later on, I immigrated with my family to Australia. So I grew up in Australia. I did all my education there. And then after that, I moved to New York for work. Worked there for 5 years, and that's actually where I met Kevin. And then afterwards, we moved to Toronto. So I'm moving more and more up north to more and more cold climate, which is a big mistake on my end. But here we are.
Arctic next. Yeah. So we met in New York. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, I'm originally from upstate New York, around Rochester and Syracuse, right on Lake Ontario. So just across the lake from where you are now is where I grew up till I was like 15, and I moved to Florida. But so I've been down here.
You went the right way.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but we love New York City. We actually just did a trip up to New York City for this third time in the last 6 years. It was my son's graduation trip, so he wanted to go back to the city. So we hung out in Manhattan for 10 days. Nice. Went over to Brooklyn a couple times, but we love the city up there. So I don't know how he got you to move to Toronto from New York City, though.
New York is a love and hate relationship because we were working there, and I feel like you can only have a really good life if you make a lot of money. If you're making like average salary, you basically live in a shoebox. You have to commute at least an hour to work. And it's not, it's the culture there is amazing. The restaurants there are amazing. We have amazing friends there. But to kind of like have a life
and start try and settle down, find somewhere you want to be. I don't think we just thought New York wasn't the place.
Yeah, the city at least. That's what we meant.
Yeah, it's New York is a great place to visit, but you didn't want to live there. That's for sure. I've heard that. So it's rough to live in, but to go there and visit for 10 days, it's amazing. It's a great place to
We
hang
go
out. But
back.
I've been to Toronto a couple times too, and I really like Toronto. It's a lot cleaner than New York City, that's for
Oh,
sure. I mean,
it's like night and day.
Actually, when we go back there, we're like, oh my god, we used to live here. I mean, no offense to New Yorkers,
We love you guys.
We love you
It's
guys.
one of our favorite places. We go back every year.
but I'm like, oh my god, there's trash everywhere, and because they don't have bins, right? The trash is just on the like in bags on the ground, and especially in summer where the garbage juice is leaking out. Oh my god, the smell! But actually, this is a cooking podcast. We shouldn't be mentioning this. I'm gonna skip that part.
well, and
now.
like I said, I love Toronto. One of the things I love that whole area. When I was young, we used to go up to the Niagara Falls area a lot for vacation because we didn't have a lot of money, and that was a really quick and easy and cheap trip to just go across the border and check that area. But that whole encampment area is, with all the wineries, that drive from Niagara Falls to Toronto, that whole in between there is in the summer and spring, it's great. I mean, winter, it's kind of cold, but I really love it. And Toronto itself is great. It's got a good, really nice Chinatown. I mean, we loved going there.
Which one?
And
Five. I'm just
I know.
messing with you.
I don't know. I can't remember which one it was, but it's the big major one. And we probably hung out there like for 2 days in a row, just eating different kinds of food. So, I mean,
And I think
it's,
it's just grown. Like when I was a kid, we had to go downtown for Chinatown, but now it's just moved all north. Like where we live, with around just our house, there's 5 Chinese supermarkets, and within 5 minute drive. So and like we have the largest Asian mall, like not even 10 minutes away, and like there's plazas just filled with Chinese food now. So it's quite different. It's like It's like sometimes you're like, am I in Asia? Where am I?
Yeah, the first time I came to Toronto, it was interesting to me. But like, to me, this is like Asia, but bigger, cleaner, and colder. But then the plazas, all the signage, it's all in Chinese. The food is actually very authentic, and there's different regional foods because a lot of places, I guess, in Western countries, especially for me where I grew up in Australia, there's only one type of Chinese food, and that's Cantonese food. And I knew there were other types, but I didn't have exposure to that many different types until I moved to New York, where I basically discovered Sichuan food. I discovered like northeastern Chinese food. I had more Shanghai food. So that's like China itself is a huge region, and there's just so many different pockets of food in there. But when most Westerners would only know about Cantonese food because those were the first immigrants, which Cantonese food is fine. I'm Cantonese, but a lot of people don't have exposure to all these different foods. And Toronto is also one of the places where you can get really authentic regional Chinese food as well.
Yeah, and even New York City, and they have a lot of the Shanghai restaurants, which is different than some of the other Chinese stuff. Some of the stuff that they have in those restaurants are not Cantonese, and they're like the soup dumplings and stuff. I mean, you can't find them down here anywhere. There's one restaurant I think I can find that I can go find soup dumplings at, but so yeah, it's amazing though. But I love Toronto. One of the things that I liked about Toronto is that you can go downtown and visit like the CN Tower and walk around, and it's not like New York City. There's like nobody's tripping over each other, nobody's walking into you, and I mean, it looked kind of like a ghost town to me compared to some of the other bigger cities that I've been to before. I mean, there's big buildings and you can tell there's people around, but it's nowhere near
right. There's
like New York
space, and it's a little more spread out. It's not really a walking city, I would say. It's more you need to take some sort of transit, some cars, and even though the transit can be improved, but there's space. It takes a while to get from place to place, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I just like going up into the CN Tower and looking over Lake Ontario. It's a pretty awesome view. So I like that area a lot. And like I said, that whole encampment area is, like I said, I took my wife up there back when my kids were really young, and we did the tour of some of the wineries and stuff, just south of you there, southwest of you guys. And it's really amazing, all the wineries and stuff that they have up there. So
Yeah, it's a nice area.
understand how much wine that they grow up there. I didn't until I was like, well, what are all these wineries doing up here? And they're like, it's the same type of region as Washington State and the Rhine area of Germany. So that's why they do a lot of the whiter wines and stuff. So
actually, what's interesting that I learned recently is that in the Niagara region they have ice wine. So for the ice wine, you have to pick it basically in the middle of winter at night, where all the grapes have become ice, and that's when you pick it. That's the best time to pick it, and that's when the flavor is infused. I don't know the whole process, but when I heard that there are tours that you can take to go and pick those grapes at that time, and I'm like,
free labor.
No, that's not free. I'm like, do I really want to be like 3 a.m. minus 30 degrees outside picking grapes? I don't think I would enjoy this tour. But there is such
you have
tour,
to actually harvest it the
made.
first time it freezes, because it freezes the one time and then you got to pick it. It's something with the sugars in it, but it's a very sweet wine, kind of like plum wine. So it's really, they export a lot of it to the Asian countries because it's kind of like the really sweet type plum wine. So yeah, I learned all about that too when we did some of those tours. But yeah, they got to pick it at a certain time, and they can only allow it to freeze once, and then they got to get out there and pick it right away. So it's very interesting, and a lot of stuff up there, like I said, is people don't even understand what's there. It's just amazing. So did you guys meet at work in New York City, or?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
We met at work. I think Carmen was already working. We were working at a television station back then. I guess you started first, and I transferred there maybe like 6 months later. I started working there, and that's where we met, and that's when we got together. Don't tell HR.
I met my wife at work too, so it's we've been married almost 20 years, and we both work together, and so I know it's that's some of those. You spend a lot of time during the day with people, you get to know them, and sometimes it turns into a everlasting relationship.
Oh yeah, like it's funny. Carmen and I have been together for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
Good. 11 years. And actually up until 3 years ago, or just before 3 years ago, we have worked together every day and sat beside each other every day until 3 years ago when Carmen changed jobs. So I think it was fun. It was fun. People always said, how do you do it? I'm like, I didn't find anything different. It was fun. We talked to each other. We worked together. It's great. We come home, see each other some more.
Yeah. That's the same way with me and my wife, so it's, once you get past that initial, it's great. So, all right. So who is the better cook of you guys?
There's no questions about that. It's definitely Kevin.
The one that cooks in all the videos. Yeah, I'm the better cook, but I would say Carmen has the wider palate and a better taste for what tastes good.
Sometimes I joke that how executive chefs don't actually cook; they just taste the food and they tell them what to do. So I'm the executive chef, and Kevin is the sous chef that's doing all the work.
Yeah, he's doing all the work, and you're just tasting. Go, that's not good. Make it again.
Basically, I'm like, that plating doesn't look good. Can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, I think it needs a little bit more salt, or it's missing this flavor. That's me.
But it works out. I think we have a good dynamic in the kitchen. She tells me what's good, what's not, and I prep some of the stuff and make it. And I think I like it. I really enjoy cooking, whereas she doesn't like it as much as I do. So I think it works out. She likes to eat, though.
Yeah, my wife does not like to cook either, so that's what makes it. I've always cooked, throughout our whole marriage, and I've cooked since I was a teenager, and I used to cook in restaurants when I was younger, but I got out of that when I found out you can't make a whole lot of money doing that. So I but I do all the cooking, and her palate. She grew up with not a lot of variety as far as the food that she ate, so her palate's not as wide as mine, so I got to force her to try new things, but it all works out in the end. She doesn't want to be on the videos though, but you guys have a really good it's a good chemistry that you guys have together there. So one of the things I want to talk about, so you said you worked in the TV stations. Obviously you have some professional editing experience, because when I first saw your videos, right away you can tell you guys done this before to some extent. So let's talk about that.
Thank you for mentioning that. Actually, like I don't like both of us don't really do that kind of work in the television station. I work in Toronto now in a small production company, and we do mostly docs. Um, and my job is the production manager, so I make sure like budgets are in line, people are in the right place, I'm hiring the right people are going to be here on this day, there on that day, make sure all the equipment is ready, all the travel's ready, making sure. My job is basically to make sure everything is running, but I haven't done much of the hands-on work for a really, really long time. So you'll be able to notice a lot of our mistakes, and I'm a terrible cameraman.
Yeah, so that's the same with me. I'm more of the organizing and managing side. So I think the main thing is that we know what looks good, but technically it's a little difficult for us to achieve it because we don't have the technical skills. So we're trying really hard to improve on that right now. And basically we're fortunate to have good friends that give us tips on like, oh, maybe you can try film it this way or try filming it that way. So you can see there's a progression in our videos from the beginning where you can see that there's slight improvements each time, because our friends will be like, oh, why don't you try this instead? Why don't you try that instead? And we take in those feedbacks and improve the videos as we go along.
Right. And I think for us, like the biggest takeaway from our line of work is that we travel quite a bit and we go to a lot of places. And we're lucky enough that we worked on a food show I worked on it 3 seasons, kind of worked it on for 2 seasons. And we traveled the world with a chef and a whole team. And we tried different restaurants in many parts of the world. We went to Europe. We went to a lot of Asia. We did North America. And I think that really like helped us to start this channel and understand what cooking is, what's it like to be in a kitchen, what people are looking for, what kind of shots to get, So we were lucky in that sense.
Yeah, but we still need a lot of help.
Yeah.
Like we understand what's needed, but we're not achieving what we think is that part yet. But then again, we're just doing it ourselves, and also both of us being on camera, sometimes it's hard to monitor because we don't have like a screen where we can see what's behind the camera. So sometimes we're like, oh no, this was out of focus. We couldn't use any of that footage. Or sometimes like you can see like, oh, maybe we have one little camera where you can flip the screen. And sometimes when the screen's flipped, our eyes is looking, oh, is that in the shot? And then you can see both of our eyeballs just looking over there. And then basically the camera catches every single movement, right? And then later on in post, we're like, oh my God, we were talking about this thing. And now both of our eyes are looking at off screen, not on camera, and I can't really use the shot anymore. So when you're in production, when you have specific people doing specific roles, you don't really think about being mindful of all these little things. But when you're doing everything yourself, which is what all YouTubers are doing, which I think is amazing. Not all, but what most YouTubers are doing is amazing. And when you have to do it yourself, it's just so much more difficult than when you have a crew.
Yeah, and I'm sure you know about that too, Darren. You're trying to shoot your own videos, so it gets difficult.
Oh yeah, and I talked about this with other YouTubers as well. One of the bigger ones that I'm friends with, Greg Mervich of Ballistic Barbecue. I mean, he's got almost I think he's almost at 300,000, subscribers, but he goes through the same things because he still does everything himself. So he does a lot of like with me, it's like you shoot a, big segment and then you get to looking at it and you go, half my head's cut off in the video or it's, the foods, you can't even see the food or something, so there's a lot of times when you're trying to do everything yourself. And like I said, I haven't invested a lot in equipment and, lighting and all that kind of stuff. I just kind of, slowly, when I first started, I really didn't even know how to edit. I started just doing it in iMovie and, but you can see, through my beginning videos to now, there's a progression, just like you said, that you get better and better at it. And the more you do it, the more time you spend editing. I think editing is a really, big thing with learning how to, make the videos better
Yeah.
and all that. So, I mean, I went from using just iMovie to Premiere Pro. You got to force yourself sometimes to learn new things. It takes a lot of time and effort. So, but and I talked to Malcolm Reed, who's got a huge channel. He's been doing it for almost 10 years now, and he started out with his wife, just filming with a little portable camera, and just walking around barbecue competitions, and now it's pretty much, if you watch one of those videos, it looks like a full production crew. So I think everybody starts out the same way, and down the road, we get better and better as we continue. So
that's what we hope for.
But you guys started out pretty good. You got the little animation in the beginning that I kind of like, and then so you kind of started out. You could tell you had a little bit of some kind of editing, skills in the beginning. So you weren't just
we called it taking favors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was basically an idea from a friend, and he's like, let's just do it, and he just brought all the stuff and just did it.
Yeah, like we went. What we did? He came. He's like, let's just do it now. I'm like, okay.
So we just went to Walmart. We bought those things, little clay figures. So we sculpted it by hand, and we bought those little food items at the back, little toys for dolls. So they're very miniature. They're like probably smaller than my thumb. I guess.
Then we use a TV screen as a background.
Yeah.
We just winged it, and we finished it pretty quick. Though we got it just worked out. It took us about 2 hours or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was basically the friend that helped us come up with the idea, and he just pushed us to do it. And so we're really lucky to have these type of people that are basically passionate to see us succeed as well. So yeah.
So what made you decide to start doing the YouTube channel?
Well, I think food was always our passion, right? Like we love to eat. You'll look at Carmen's Instagram, and I don't know if there's any pictures of me.
No, I try to
probably no pictures of me, and mostly all food. So food is our passion. Like when before I met her, I didn't know that much about food, and then we went on vacation to Asia, and my eyes were completely opened. And I guess Carmen used to be on YouTube before that, and she had some followers there. So we're like, let's give it a try. And I think the show that we both worked on, Confucius the Foodie, was a good starting point as well, because we know how things are done, we know what's needed, what people like to do. So we had, as you said, we had some of the pieces in place. So it wasn't a big leap for us to try to get it started, and we're still trying. We're not anywhere near like what we need, like what our goal is, but that's okay. Actually, we don't even know what our goal is, but we'll get there.
That's what I was going to ask you. What is your goal? Do you want it to be just a big, huge YouTube channel? Do you want to turn it into something else, or?
I guess we're not really sure yet. Like we don't have an end goal. There's no end goal to this, but we have some short-term goals that we are trying to reach. I think we started 3 months ago now. We started 3 months ago. Our first goal is to get to the partnership, which is like 1,000 views subs, and 4,000.
1,000 subs, 4,000 hours.
Yeah, something like that. So we're working our way there. We're trying to find the different strategies, and I guess we like to try and learn it as we go. It's something different. It's something new. Although Carmen has done it, it was 6-7 years ago now, and the whole landscape is completely different from what it was. And no one that, like, the people that were doing then are doing something. They moved on to do other things too.
Well, now I got to know what was your channel before, Carmen?
It's called Off the Great Wall. When I started it, I was basically the producer for it, and also was on camera. And but at the very beginning, I did some of the editing. But I basically got all the people involved. I found people to help me write the script. I found people to be on camera. I found people to help me film. Found people to help me edit. So I got everyone together and then made it happen. So when I first started, I ran it for about a year. And then, was it 2 years now? I don't remember now. 1 or 2 years. And then I got it up to 100,000 subscribers. And then that was with with the TV network that we both worked in, and then there was some creative differences. They wanted to change some stuff, so I also moved to Toronto, and I stopped doing that. That was about 6 years ago. Yeah, and ever since then, I did have that in the back of my mind, maybe going back onto YouTube one day, because I did have a very good time working on YouTube before, but as Kevin mentioned, we worked on the other food show, and I also learned a lot on this food show. We were traveling. I think at one point I was traveling like 3 months out of the year.
Yeah.
To be on this documentary, and I just learned a tremendous amount from that, and that's something that nothing else can, you cannot learn that from a classroom or anything. It's just real life experience. So that I was really grateful for that. But I think in the back of my mind, I've always had YouTube in there. But so now that I'm starting again, I find that the landscape is much more different, because back then I feel like it's a little less, what's the thing? I feel like right now the channels are being more commercialized in a way that it's more like a regular TV program now. Like, when you go in there, you know what you're expecting. They all have the same format. And then the time is also much longer. It's a lot of them I see it's more than 10 minutes. And back when I was doing videos, like 10 minutes is a very, very long time. Well, okay, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, that's already good enough. So to think of like to have that type of content for more than 10 minutes, engaging content, that's actually very difficult. So I think that's the main thing. And also it's just so saturated now. There's so many different channels, and to stand out, you really have to have your own niche. And I guess that's why we chose sous vide, because that is a very niche equipment, right? If we just did regular cooking, no specific niche, then we will be drowned out by all these massive different massive channels that already exist. So you have to have a really different strategy now to work on YouTube.
Well, great. Well, we're going to move into that after the break here. And we're going to go ahead and take a break for an ad, but we're going to talk about sous vide and why you chose that for your channel as well, because, we're similar in that. So we're going to go ahead and take a break real quick, and we'll be right back with Carmen and Kevin from Kind of Cooking. Hey, all, I want to welcome again Inkbird as our sponsor for the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Inkbird has more than just barbecue thermometers and instant read thermometers that I've talked about before. Inkbird just came out with a Wi-Fi sous vide circulator that I've been using for a few weeks now that works pretty good. It has over 1,000 watts of power, has an app that has many times and temps for meats and vegetables, also has onboard times and temps for meats and vegetables, runs really quiet, fits most regular sous vide containers that are the size of the Innovas. So check it out. Look below. There's a link with a code for 30% off of the Amazon price that makes it under $60 right now until June 5th. So check out the Inkbird Wi-Fi sous vide circulator in the description below. Back to our program. Okay, so we were just talking about your experience with YouTube before. Now, when you did YouTube before, was it for a company? It wasn't your personal channel? Was it something for a company that you kind of just ran it for them, or?
Yeah, so it was for another company. It was for the TV network that we were both working at. And
Gotcha.
So it wasn't for me personally. So right now what I'm doing is only for us two, and we're doing everything ourselves. So I guess back then that the biggest benefit is that we did have some resources to work on. There was no real budget because it is still YouTube and it was in the early stages. But to be able to have people to work on different things, like, having an actual cameraman or having an actual editor, that makes a huge difference. That it's night and day. So that's
and scripting.
Scripting. Scripting. I had input as well, but I also had other people that had helped us with the scripting. So that's So
that's. But that show was a little more different. It was more skit oriented. Like, it was a different, as we were saying before, it was a little different landscape. I think most of that was skits and some educational ones. So what we're doing right now is purely, I guess, more educational.
Yeah, more instructional. And that's kind of what I do. I used to try to script my videos to some extent, but I kind of stopped doing that and thought, I'm just going to do it the way I would teach somebody, if they were standing right next to me, kind of talk to them like I would be talking to, my son or my wife, trying to teach them something, and I can't really do that with a script. But people do things, I see many people that use scripts and they're great at it, but I think you got to do it the way you want to do it. And that's a good thing about YouTube to me, is you can pretty much do it the way you want to do it.
Yep.
You don't have to have somebody breathing down your neck telling you what you got to do, and then you're successful or not, and it's on your own. So
yeah,
let's talk about sous vide though. So you guys said that there's a lot of cooking channels out there, but there's not a lot of them doing sous vide. You got one of the bigger ones out there, of course, Guga with sous vide everything. So it's kind of one of the reasons I chose sous vide and barbecue mix, because that's what really intrigued me when I first discovered sous vide, is how to mix it with barbecue, because I was big into barbecue at that time. So I decided there wasn't a lot of people mixing them together as much. So that's what I started. So how did you discover sous vide, and how did you go about trying to use that for your YouTube channel?
Okay, how we discover sous vide is that every year when it's Kevin's birthday, I would go and consult a friend who is into cooking and be like, what other cooking gadget can I buy him now? Because we have a lot of cooking gadgets. And then I think it was about 4-5 years ago. I don't remember which year now. My friend said, oh, why don't you get Kevin this Anova sous vide thing? And I remember Kevin mentioning it, dropping it in at some point, like in conversation as well. So I got him the sous vide stick. So that was how the obsession started. Yeah. I don't even know why I enable him like that. And because once you buy the sous vide, it's not just a sous vide.
We went down that dark road. Once you buy that, you have to get everything. You need a container, you need the food saver, you need Ziploc bags, you need this and that and whatnot, cast iron pans.
So. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought the sous vide stick was it, and then he can go and have fun and play with it.
As if you didn't know me already. If you get me something, I'm going to research the heck out of it. I want to know everything about it. I want to know the best things to buy. I want everything. And I think what I started with was, actually, even before that, our first interaction with sous vide was on a trip to Thailand. Mm-hmm. We went, some guy recommended us to go to this restaurant, and we saw 72-hour pork cheeks or something.
Yeah, coffee, sous vide, something. We don't even know what sous vide was. And I just remember having it, being really impressed that it was cooked for 72 hours and that it tasted really good. And that was our first interaction point with that.
Yeah. And then from there, I think, after she bought it, I think that was when Serious East was probably doing a big thing with the Nova. So we got on that. And we read every article, tried a lot of recipes, and it just blossomed from there. And then, once you get started, the basics, you try and experiment a little here, a little there. Oh, what if I adapted it to here? What if I adapted a little bit there? So our background, we talked a lot about Asians already, and that's what we kind of know. So we tried to adapt it more to Asian food, right? So we see okay, for example, let's say that soy sauce chicken that we made, we tried to adapt it to that and say, because when you usually do it, you need to cook it for 45 minutes, right? Or 45 minutes to an hour, and you need to flip it every 5 minutes. That's a lot of work. So we thought, okay, what if I took this, put it in the sous vide, same marinade, everything is very, very similar. You subtract and add depending on how it goes. And we're like, this really, really works, because the skin comes out perfect. The texture of the meat is perfect. I didn't even need to do a thing. I put in all the marinade, I put it in the bag, put in the water, and it's done in an hour and a half. Took a little more time, but the effort was 0 instead of 10. So
right. Yeah. Obviously, Carmen's never experienced people that golf or anything like that, because it's the same type of thing. Once you you can't just buy somebody, you know, a set of golf clubs. You got to buy them, you know, the balls, the shoes, the hat, the outfit, you know, it all, once they get the one thing and they get involved in it.
Yeah.
I'm the same as you, Kevin. You know, when I get involved in something, my wife will tell you, I got to be into it 100%. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm into mountain biking, you know, I'll go buy, you know, a $5,000 mountain bike, and then the shoes and the outfit, and then, you know, all the different kinds of stuff, and then I'll modify the bike the way I want it. You know, that's just the way people like us are. And then we experiment with different things. It's like, that's what I love to do with sous vide, is experiment. Take that traditional recipe and see where sous vide can help improve it or make it different. So that's what fascinates me about, you know, and it's not just, you know, I felt that way about barbecue before, and all kinds of cooking. I mean, all different kinds of cooking methods. And one of the things I loved about sous vide is that it's a full method. It's not just an appliance. And I think a lot of people still think of it as just an appliance that you can use to make a good steak, but it does so much more. So.
Right. And I think that's one thing that we're trying to get away from. I think we're trying to get away from, like, it just makes good steak. And I feel like people get a lot of that impression from the sous vide because that's what they see a lot of, right? And I see you're trying to get away, like you're doing like big meats, big turkeys, you know, big chickens, and you're doing other meats other than steak and, you know, a chicken thigh, and you're expanding it and taste and going into different things. And that's what we are trying to do as well, and trying to get away from sous vide is just for this kind of thing, but there's so many things you can do, right? I think that
exactly. Yeah, and that's the experimenting is the fun part. I mean, that's what drives me, and
yeah,
that's kind of what drove me to start doing the YouTube channel. Is like, I want to show people what I'm doing because I'm having so much fun doing this.
exactly.
And it's not that I'm the smartest person in the world. I'm not an expert.
Right.
You know, I'm always learning new things, and if I do something wrong, you know, I'll admit to it. But you know, I really love, you know, doing this, and I love, you know, especially with the Facebook group, the interaction of the Facebook group as well, helping people, you know, discover, you know, the passion that I have, whether it's with sous vide, barbecue, or any other type of cooking method or anything like that. So,
right.
Do you do much barbecuing, or I know it's kind of you're in a cold state up there, and you only got certain time of the year. I used to live up in that area. I know.
Yeah. So
Kevin barbecues in winter, so that's not an issue.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm good at barbecuing. I really like barbecue. It's one of my favorite things. It's fast, it's easy, it tastes awesome, you know, like, and there's different styles you can do, like grilling or smoking. And I have a lot of barbecues. I'm currently banned from buying any more barbecues. So it is something I really enjoy. And it's something that I experiment with and play with. And I think it's one, aside from sous vide, I think that's the next thing. But yeah, we play with a lot of different appliances in this house. Carmen's face.
So what's your favorite thing to cook? You know, you don't have a whole lot of videos out there to really compare, but I'm going to try that soy sauce chicken.
I think like it's different. Like it's that soy sauce chicken one is particularly different because there's no finishing, it's not crispy skin, and I think skin is something that's sometimes not so accepted in the West, but for Asians it's all about texture, right? So that's a big thing for Asians, texture and skin and eating the whole thing. But my favorite thing to cook, it's really hard to say because we go through so many different like cuisines and we get to experience so much. But I'm gonna have to go like really simple. I would say my favorite thing to cook is probably eggs. Like just no appliances, just on the stove, eggs. Like it's the most versatile thing to me. I'll put on anything, I'll eat it with anything. But if we want to, you know, get a little fancier, I think my favorite thing is a pork shoulder. We do that a lot. The price, cost effective, feeds a lot of people. Everyone goes home happy. Yeah, and we do that in different ways. And
I love pork shoulder. And that's one of the things, like you said, it's cheap. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, here stores I can get it on sale for 99 cents a pound a lot of times. And we have a lot of people over, you know, for, you know, groups from church and stuff come over all the time. And, you got 20, 30 people. It's really easy to feed a bunch of people and make it, fantastic. And I mix it up. I'll do it, regular barbecue style, for pulled pork, or I'll make it, Latin style, because that's, there's a lot of Latin communities down here. So I can make Cuban style pork, which is more citrus and garlic and, stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, there's a whole lot of things you can do with it, and it's cheap, it's versatile. And if you do it right, it's can be an amazing thing. So I like pork roast as well. So.
Yeah. And I think for us, it also really depends like what was available. We'll it's hard to say like what we even cook the most of. I'm not even sure. We just go through different things and different phases. And because, okay, I don't really like eating the same thing over and over again, and I probably won't come back to it for at least several months or a year. So yeah, I'm not even a big fan of leftovers. So that's all yours.
Yeah.
So Carmen, what's the favorite that he cooks that you like to eat?
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
It's so hard. That's such a difficult question.
I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite food.
I can ask my wife that question and she can spit it right out, because she likes the way I make the top round in the sous vide, and I can make it. I'll do 36 or 48 hours, and it makes it like a filet mignon.
I think we're talking specifically sous vide. It would be the barbecue pork.
Oh yes. If it's sous vide, then it's the Chinese barbecue pork. But if it's like in general every food in the world, then I'm like I cannot answer that. Actually, no, I can answer that. It will be noodles. But Kevin doesn't make noodles.
I'm not a big fan of noodles.
Yeah. He doesn't like soup. He doesn't like noodles.
Well, see.
But if it's for the sous vide, then it's definitely the barbecue pork. That is actually, the reaction on the video is for real. It's not. I mean, like there's the little like dramatic part where it's like for comedic effect. But the actual reaction of me trying the barbecue pork and tasting it, I'm actually.
Most of the time she doesn't try it before we taste it, and I don't think people realize that. And it's not like that last tasting part is the first time Carmen will actually taste it.
Yeah, and also because as I was saying before, I'm Cantonese, and barbecue pork is basically the hallmark of any Cantonese person. And you know what a good Chinese barbecue pork is. And I think the sous vide barbecue pork that we made is the best barbecue pork I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, and we've been to Asia multiple times. We're from an Asian place, in Toronto, and barbecue pork for me, like growing up, we had it all the time, and it's one of my favorite dishes. Like I was saying in that video, like rice, barbecue pork, some veg, and egg. That is like for me one of my childhood meals. So it was a big thing for it to be that good for us.
Well, that's great. So let's talk about cruising. You guys did a video where you said that one of the cooks you did was inspired by a cruise you've been on. How many cruises you been on? Me and my wife love to cruise. So
it's a grand total of 1.
But it was life-changing.
Yes.
That cruise is life-changing because, like we travel for work. As Kyle was saying, we're traveling maybe 4 months of the year in some years, right? 3 to 4 months of the year. So we see a lot of places, but we do a lot of planning. Like our whole job is based around planning. And if one thing is missing, and so everything just, falls apart. So, and we have to think of like, where's going next? How many people? We're traveling with teams of 10, and we have to make sure everyone is in the right place, So the cruise was life-changing because all we had to do was get on the cruise and everything else was ready. We didn't have to think of activities. We didn't have to think of anything. Like anything we wanted to do was ready at your fingertips. You want to eat now? No problem. You want to go swim now? No problem. You want to sleep now? Even better. It was the most relaxing vacation we've ever had.
Yeah, usually because when we plan our own vacations, we don't do tour groups or anything. We plan it, and I have activities planned. At the first time we went on an international trip, I think I planned it to the minute. And then after that, we're like, okay, we're never planning so much.
I was so tired on the last day. I remember it so clearly. We were in Hong Kong. We could not finish the escalator. It was an escalator. It moves you. And I was so tired. I'm like, Carmen, that's it. We're not doing any more of this vacation. Let's just go back, please. And I was in the subway. There's a picture of me. And I'm just like squatting on the wall, like just so tired in the train station. You remember that?
Yeah. And then since then we're like, okay, we're gonna wing all our vacations. So we'll show up. We kind of have a general idea of what we know where we're gonna go. That's good. So, but we're like, okay, each day we'll have 2 activities max.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of just plan it and just wing it on the way, and we'll have a rest day maybe in between. And so we're not like every single day we do like X amount of activities. So because that was crazy. But now with the cruise, it's even more relaxing because you don't have to think at all. And actually, one more thing I want to add is that when we go on vacations, it's because we have the advantage of that because we let me go again. Because when we go on vacations, we have the advantage of going it with work. When we go on work, when we travel, sometimes you say when we travel to Asia, after work, we kind of stay behind for a week. So our flights are covered. But then that was basically after a whole month of exhausting work. And then if I have to do and plan another week of vacation, that's more planning. But then that's how we get our vacations because of our work. We travel to a place for work, and we stay a week behind, and that's a good perk because we save on flights. But yeah, by that point we were beyond the point of exhausted, and we don't want to think anymore. So I think the cruise last time was also after work. I was in Miami for a job, and then afterwards we're like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to plan another week of activity. So we're like, let's do a cruise. Yeah. And at the beginning we're not sure about cruising because we're like, oh, are we going to be on a ship for a week? Like, what if there's nothing to do? Is it safe? La la la. Everything changed after that one cruise. I'm like, yeah, I don't know why we didn't cruise before. This is so good.
Yeah, and I mean, what the best part of that cruise was the food. At every single meal was amazing. We were worried. We were like, we're on a boat, like you go to like wherever place where you're stuck, you don't get good food, right? But every meal and the service on every corner you turn was really good. We gained.
Well, I usually plan the vacations in our family. So, like we went to New York this year and, I've had it like Carmen, I planned it to every minute, especially because we usually get like the sightseeing pass when we go to New York that includes a lot of the different things. So you got to kind of plan it. Okay, we're going to be in South Manhattan. So we got to kind of plan all the things that are included in the sightseeing pass for South Manhattan. And like you said, yeah, it's exhausting. So my wife loves cruising because of what Carmen said, or what Kevin said too, is you get on the cruise and you don't have to do anything. And, you want to eat, you can go eat. You want to go sleep, you can go sleep. You want to go get a massage, you can go get a massage. I mean, she just loves it. And we were the same way when we first did our first one. We were kind of nervous and we had a young son. We're like, we don't know if, the kid's going to react. But after we did the first one, she was just like, yeah, we're going to do this. And we usually go every year.
Wow.
around her birthday. So we've been on like 10 or 12 now. And actually in this month, in a week and a half, we're going on the Kiss cruise. It's a theme cruise and Kiss is going to be on it.
That's so cool.
Wow.
So, but yeah, we love it. So the next cruise you guys do, I have to suggest that you do the chef's table, whether you're on Royal Caribbean or Carnival. All of them usually have, it's something you can sign up for. They charge you like $100 a piece extra, but you get to go with Carnival. They usually, on some of the bigger boats, they have a special area where you get like 10 or 12 people, and you go like into the galley, and there's a special area in the galley, and you have like a 10-course chef prepared meal that's specially for you. And it's really amazing. And you really need to try that, especially since you're foodies. It's really worth it to do that. So if next time you take a cruise, make sure you look up the chef's table option, because like I said, we did that. The first time we did it was like 3 years ago, and pretty much now we do it just about every time. So it's really good. Well worth it.
Oh, thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, cruising is great. I mean, my kids love it. Like I said, we go. Usually, that's one of our times that we go. I usually tell my wife that's her birthday present every year, so we usually go. We're in Florida, so we've got like 5 cruise ports to choose from. And then we can drive to them, so it's not, with you guys, you got to kind of fly somewhere to do it, but we usually can do it really easy. So it just makes it real simple for us to do. And like I said, my wife loves it, so it's something that we do a lot. But yeah, next time you do one, you got to check out the Chef's Table. I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
So. All right. So, well, anything else you guys want to talk about? What you got planned for the future, or any other videos that you got coming up that we should know about?
We have a actually, when is this going to publish?
This is probably going to come out in sometime the end of November.
During Thanksgiving then, right?
That's okay. I think.
Yeah, right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So we have we just had our Canadian Thanksgiving last week.
Let's just call it Thanksgiving. We just
had our Thanksgiving. Okay, and then so we challenge ourselves. We're like, okay, we should do a video about Thanksgiving, because by the time it comes out, then it will be ready for American Thanksgiving. So we challenge ourselves to do a sous vide Thanksgiving.
Every single dish was sous vide.
Yes, we made obviously turkey, mashed potatoes, carrots, squash, beets, stuffing, and a pumpkin cheesecake. Is that it? Oh, and cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce, everything on the table had something to do with the sous vide. Even the gravy, we used all the dripping, so it was a whole complete meal from the sous vide.
Yeah.
When's that video set to release?
We're gonna release it in parts over the next 4 to 5 weeks, I guess.
Well, throughout the next month, we'll release it in parts, because if we were to edit this whole thing together, it's going to be like an hour long.
It should be before Thanksgiving that it comes out. So
all good. We're it's fine. I mean,
whenever it comes out, we're good. But that's just something that we have right now. That's we're planning.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we're definitely coming up with more Asian inspired recipes, and then just seeing how we can, make it easier to make these traditionally, maybe a little difficult to make dishes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because I've never really done a lot of Asian style cooking. I think everybody has done, stir fry and, tried their hand at, some other things, but I don't delve too much into it. So like making the soup that you did the other time with the pork and all that. I mean, I don't really never delved into it too much, but just watching that video, showed me how easy it is to do. So I'm really looking forward to a lot of that.
I think if there's one that you try, I think you would probably enjoy the Chinese barbecue pork. It's like the mix. It's like right down your alley. Sous vide, pork shoulder, barbecue. Like, I don't know what else I can put together for you. Maybe it was on a cruise. I don't know.
Thanks for joining me, guys. I really appreciate it. I look forward to watching your videos. Everybody check out Kind of Cooking on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description below. It's a great up-and-coming channel. They've only been around for, 3 or 4 months now?
Yep.
And you should have 1,000 subscribers here anytime soon. The 1,000 subscribers is easy to hit. It's the 4,000 hours of watch time that kind of throws you back some. But
got to play our dues.
I think you guys are going to be real successful, because you got a great chemistry on the videos. You do some really good cooks, and I can see that you really love what you do. So I look forward to following your channel. Make sure you check them out. Kind of Cooking YouTube channel, they're linked below. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to thank you, like people like yourself, Firewater Cooking, and like all the people that, like this community of sous vide is so small, and you ask anyone a question and everyone's willing to answer and help you out and try and make things work. Like, we were asking someone about some website stuff. We're asking you about different sous vide tips and that. And everyone is so open and willing to help. And I think
very generous with the time. And that's something that you're not expecting anything back from us as well. So that's like regularly when you ask for help, they're like, oh, what's in it for me, right? But I don't see that in this community. So that's
So
really
I want
great.
to thank you and thank like all the other people that listen and anyone that's helped us.
I've found this out from the beginning, that the YouTube cooks community, people that have YouTube cooking channels, a lot of them are really helpful. Not just the barbecue guys. I mean, the barbecue guys are great, but anybody, you reach out to them, they're more than willing to help. It's not, super competitive. Everybody has their own niche and their own personality and things that they like to do. So they're usually, people will help you, no problem. It's not a competitive type atmosphere. There's going to be some people that think that, but you got that everywhere. But I would say, 90% of the people that are doing it are more than willing to help. I mean, that's why a lot of people get involved in doing YouTube videos, is to help other people. So it's not to be, rich. I want to be a YouTube star. The ones that I talk to anyway, that have had success in it, they started it to, teach their kid how to cook, or, to show other people, some of the stuff that they were doing. It was, more of, I want to help other people.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me again, Kevin and Carmen of Kinda Cooking. I will talk to you really soon. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
All righty. Thanks again for joining us on the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I want to thank Kevin and Carmen again for coming on. Make sure you check out Kind of Cooking on YouTube, and the link below in the description. Check out the Inkbird Wi-Fi sous vide unit, also in the description below. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us on our Facebook page in our group. Also check out the Fire and Water Cooking YouTube channel. And I'll talk to you again on the next Fire and Water Cooking Podcast.